mission and our values are people. So wherever you come from, like wherever you're doing, like that's our number one value. So anytime that's going to be, denigrated or like the dignity is going to be lessened on any of that, we're just like, that's not us and that's not the village. And that's definitely a hill we die on as people.
You're listening to Find the Good News, episode 127, The Cup Overfloweth, a good conversation featuring Hunter Forman and Aaron Quinn of Village Coffee in Sulphur, Louisiana. Find the Good News is produced by Parker Brand Creative Services, a branding agency that thinks sideways, pushes forward, and gets your brand up. See what else we do at parkerbrandup.com. It's not uncommon for a business to attach itself to a pre-existing cause or social effort that affects the common good. Sometimes, the business itself is a key ingredient to a passionate mission that is equal to, perhaps even surpassing, the service or product the business provides. Village Coffee in Sulphur, Louisiana is a lovely cafe space located in the perfect place to serve up equally excellent helpings of product and purpose. In this episode, I visited with Village Coffee manager Hunter Forman and co-owner Aaron Quinn to learn more about the importance of their unique venue, the name your price items on the Village Coffee menu, and how dishing out dignity to all of the people in Sulphur, Louisiana is roasted into every bean and baked into every bite. Sulphur is my hometown, and it's been my observation that we're as guilty of pride and prejudice as any other city in the United States. And like many, we have underserved citizens in specific regions that require the same attention, resources, and compassion as anyone else. From day one, Village Coffee has provided a compassionate space with an attitude of grace, where the overlooked or down on their luck can enjoy a hot gourmet roast or meal alongside their more affluent neighbors. Hunter and Aaron are clear that they can't serve the cup of gladness without help from the regular customers and patrons of Village Coffee who regularly pay it forward for their fellow citizens. No matter which side of the tracks you travel in from, within the historic walls of Village Coffee, you can eat, drink, be well, and be seen. So I invite you to sit down with your own hot cup of coffee and let my conversation with Hunter and Aaron warm your heart. Now, let's cue the music and press play on a little good news.
Wake up, it's morning, dreaming of the story. I can hear the way it's going, 'cause you're laughing in your sleep. On the path to your deliverance, in a holy wall of light, pouring through your window.
Old news, bad news, fake news. Sometimes you want to shut those channels down and seek a better source. With Find the Good News, I tune into good people doing good works wherever I can find them. I scan the signals looking for educators and students, scientists and spiritual leaders, writers, musicians and artists, business owners, volunteers, and active citizens who offer their time, resources, and talents to build a better world for others. In each episode, I tune into the hearts and minds of my extraordinary guests. I uncover the critical life experiences that shape them, the principles that guide them, and the foundational philosophies that keep them on their path of goodness. There's a lot of news, and it's a noisy world. My name is Oran Parker, and I'm cutting through the static to find the good.
And I love you just as well.
We walked in, there's coffee beans, big sacks of coffee beans. There's this huge, I'm assuming, grinder, roaster apparatus. I have no idea what I'm looking at.
Yeah, so it's a coffee roaster.
Okay.
Is what we have as soon as you walk in that giant machine. We have a grinder too, but it's much smaller.
Okay. I didn't know what they looked like. I know y'all told us.
Looks like a train almost, like
yeah,
the front
it
of a
does.
train.
It reminds me of an old, steampunk. It's actually kind of elegant.
Yeah. Coffee roasting, very elegant.
It's essentially just a dryer. It just spins around like a dryer.
Okay.
So I don't recommend roasting coffee in your dryer at home, but
Right.
The first time I roasted coffee was in my oven. I watched a YouTube video and
you can roast
caught
in
fire.
Like on a pan, like you would, like cookie
Yep.
sheet?
Don't
Okay.
recommend it.
yeah, because
Almost burnt
it needs to
down.
move. It needs to be able to get all the way around
You
the
gotta
heat.
flip it over.
I
Yeah.
got you. So that's why it's tumbling,
It's moving.
essentially. Okay.
Yep. Does it tumble?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. I'll make sure
So
that's right.
is it like a front-loading washing machine? It's not like that. It would be like a top loader, where it's like a vat.
Yeah, so what you think of it like a 55-gallon drum, turn it on its side.
Gotcha.
And then you have flames underneath it, and it's rotating.
Spinning.
Okay.
It's kind of like one of those, if you open the washer or dryer, like in the front, how it spins just straight
Gotcha.
in front of you. But we load it from the top.
Interesting.
Drops it all in. Yep.
So all this talk about coffee roasters and coffee roasting, I guess the best thing to do would be get you guys to introduce yourselves. And I will start left to right if you don't mind. Just tell me who I'm talking to.
Yeah,
today.
my name's Hunter Forman. I'm the general manager of the Village Coffee House in Sulphur. And that's my role.
Okay.
My name is Aaron Quinn. I am one of the owners of the Village Coffee House here in Sulphur.
Now, how many owners are there?
There are 3 families. I think of it kind of like the mafia. So we have 3 families. We've got the Gambinos. We got
Yeah.
No, but there's 3 families. There's the Formans, the Quinns, and then the Brewers, which is a pretty good name
That's
for a
right.
coffee shop
Sure
owner.
is.
Yep, perfect.
Perfect, yeah.
Yeah. So originally, the idea was to have a place where people could come and gather and hang out. And then my wife and I, we loved coffee. And so all 3 of the families are like, hey, this could work together. And so that's why we banded together, really, was we all
It was
needed
a
each
united
other.
vision.
Yeah, exactly.
Weirdly, all at the same time, too. But everyone was kind of ready to.
So this was like an alignment. But y'all were all having the same.
Yeah, that's right. So the Formans and the Brewers, they are from this area originally. My wife and I, we did not grow up here. And when we moved here, I guess it was almost 8-9 years ago.
Okay.
We moved here and we're like, there's no coffee.
Yeah.
It's really not much.
At the time, there was no coffee in Sulphur. Period.
Right.
No, I mean, maybe Starbucks and
The
Kroger.
Inside
kiosk
of the
and Kroger.
That's right.
Yeah, the kiosk and Kroger, but nowhere to go like to a coffee
Right.
house.
And sit and enjoy them. Yeah.
And then Lake Charles, you just had downtown.
That's
So-
right. And so we had the lack of coffee, but then the other thing that we noticed was lacking is there's nowhere to go and just hang out, have a conversation,
Third
and meet
place.
somebody.
Yeah.
Exactly. The idea of a third place. And we thought, okay, well, a coffee shop solves both those problems.
Yeah.
And that was really part of the vision, one of the visions behind it.
That's really all of that is accurate. I mean, I've lived here my whole life. Now I've moved away for short periods of time and come back. But you're right. We've never really had a place like that in Sulphur. Lake Charles has had various, incarnations of local coffee shops over time. There was one place in Lake Charles years ago that I used to love to go called Cars Cafe, downtown area, and it wasn't actually downtown. Now that I'm saying that, the Michael DeBakey Drive area.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, I used to love going there. Live music, poetry readings.
Really?
Yeah.
I never heard about that. What is it called?
Called Cars Cafe.
Okay.
Actually, is it 121 Bistro?
Is that where it was?
That's where it was at. It was in
Okay.
that
When
area.
did that
Let's
go?
see, that would have been 95, 96, 97. But it didn't stay around too long, but it had a total vibe to it, man. It was such a cool place. And, if you like to read and you like poetry and you just like to hang out and relax, had couches and stuff everywhere. So anyway, I guess I'm saying all that because when I go in the Village, I kind of get it smacks of that vibe. It just feels like a homey place, like someplace you want to be. I don't know. I just think y'all are doing things right, and the coffee's delicious.
Well, thank you.
So it is special to have something like that in Sulphur. So speaking of that, the location you're at, can y'all share some of the history of that location? Because that is kind of a special location, an icon of Sulphur in itself.
Definitely. So originally, one of the oldest buildings in Sulphur, going back to 20s, 30s, I believe is when it was originally constructed. But it was the Paragon Drug Store, which was, I think, maybe the first pharmacy in Louisiana. Now, the original location of the pharmacy was not there, but then it moved to the current location of where the coffee shop is.
That's kind of what it's most known for.
That's
People
right.
come in all the time today.
Really?
2024. This used to be a drugstore. Yep.
Oh,
That's
wow.
what they remember it as.
And it was there for 40,
A long
50
time.
years
Yeah.
until it kind of started passing through different businesses.
Sure.
And quite a few businesses have been in there since Paragon left. And we remember that building came up for sale, I don't know what year, probably 2017, 2018. And we identified that building. And part of it was actually the geographical location, the importance of it. One of our missions is to really just serve everybody in the community of Sulphur. And if you know Sulphur, the location of it is right by the railroad track.
Yeah, it's right at a line of a divide of socioeconomic classes. If you go right across the railroad track, the the average income, drops by 20 grand, so it's in a centralized quote unquote location, depending on how you look at centralized location. But the mission was like, we want to be a place that's accessible to not just, a certain sect of community, but everyone. And so, that includes, everyone. So.
Yeah, and I like that. That's something that, I like that y'all acknowledge it, and that you acknowledge it in such a healthy way. Because growing up here, that divide was really, really apparent. And I'm going to tell probably what's going to be a bad story, but I think it illustrates the perception, at least in the 90s. I lived on Houston River Road growing up, and so I went to LeBlanc Middle School, and so if you pretty much lived north of the tracks, you went to that school, depending on where you live, just like it's pretty typical. But, as a kid, you don't have any idea that where you're going to school has a perception outside of that universe, right? But then you go to high school, and all of a sudden all those universes mix. And people they talk about you differently. They ask you where you went to school. And so all of a sudden where you went to school mattered. It didn't matter to me before, but all of a sudden it does. And I remember in English class, I won't say the teacher's name, but some of us weren't grasping something grammatically. And the teacher said, well, I can tell you are all from north of the tracks. And I just I actually did live north of the tracks. And I just remember that stung so bad. And I talked about it with a friend of mine, and he was like, I cannot believe that that's a thing. And it was like, gosh, this is a real thing. People have a perception in our own city. We treat each other differently.
They lose that dignity just because of where you're at, or. Yeah.
So y'all created something special by location alone, but location plus mission.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, our mission is to create a positive place for community, So and that's everyone. And that sounds good on paper, and it really sounded good on paper before we opened the doors. And then you kind of have life sets in after a couple of years of being open, and that's still a mission, and it's just you deal with tensions between a lot of times between those things that come up, and between different types of customers, and and so trying to balance that and be a person, a place that they really do feel welcome, and that's something we deal with on a daily basis, of making sure that everyone feels safe, make sure everyone feels respected, and so it's definitely not come without challenges to try to embody that mission, but it's been worth it. I mean, we've seen you just get to see people's lives, in a way that you don't normally get to on a day-to-day.
I think that's really a beautiful thing, because it's kind of frontline stuff. It's really grassroots, because in business, it's very easy to associate yourself with a cause and say, we're raising money. All very good, mind you. I'm not saying that that's bad to say we're raising money for a cause, or we're giving so much of a percentage of every purchase of this item to a cause. But to actually, what you're describing is actually have your eyes on it, on what you're trying to do in a very real, fundamental, day-to-day way. And the dignity part of it, to me, comes with normalizing activities that are very normal to people in a different economic class. To go enjoy coffee at a cafe is a luxury, and it's very easy to overlook it as 100%. A luxury, right? Some people, just to have a cup of hot coffee anywhere is a luxury. So to be able to provide the experience of having that place, plus the actual treat, the item that we all enjoy, I don't know, I find that that's the special little spot right there that you guys inhabit. Yeah, I mean, it's you see, a homeless guy and a doctor getting coffee together. Where else in Sulphur, in this whole area, can you go that both are welcomed and have the access to the coffee, And so I don't, if you were familiar with our Name Your Price, I don't know if you knew about that program we have. No, I think you mentioned it when we met talking about your rebranding. we can talk about that too at some point. But yeah, I think y'all mentioned that, and I was actually like, wait, explain that to me. So yeah, please tell the listeners about that.
Yeah, so part of our mission is we don't want to just be a posh luxury coffee shop for only a few to be able to access, right? We're especially in the place that we're at, the location geographically. We knew that there were going to be certain customers that like couldn't afford a $7 coffee, and that's okay. Like, we didn't want anyone to feel alienated, because again, we're trying to create a positive gathering space for everyone, that everyone has a seat at the table. And so part of that was like, okay, how are we going to get somebody like, to feel welcome, that they can come in and be a customer. And so part of that was we created 2 menu items, and you can maybe talk about, I think that's how it started, right? I mean, we just were trying to create access for people.
Yeah, and we were going back and forth. Okay, do we make the whole menu? Do we do that? And we
almost were a nonprofit, honestly.
Yeah, do we want to be a nonprofit? Do we not? And we were kind of going back and forth, and then we looked at some different businesses who had done different things, and so we ended up landing on just 2 items.
Yeah, because we talked about pay it forward, like people who put you grab a ticket and. But I think the name your price is more like it's just a built-in consistent thing that, So drip coffee, like what you guys are drinking right now, just regular house brewed coffee.
Delicious.
Yeah, you can name your price for that. Whether you're a doctor or whether you're homeless, doesn't matter. Like, whoever you come from, wherever your background, you tell us how much you want to pay. And it's weird. It's like weird on the front lines, like to have that conversation, when there's, I just want a coffee, hot coffee, regular coffee. Okay, like how much do you want to pay? That's a name your price item. And then you kind of go into it, which is cool because you get to talk about it. You say, hey, we're trying to create access. We want to make sure anyone can come in here and get a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
And so for the people who can pay or pay a little bit more, they pay a little bit more. And then they help the person who can't, who maybe can only pay a nickel or a quarter, And so it's a way for the community who does have the means and does have access to pay a little bit more maybe for what you would normally pay.
Yeah.
And then for anyone to be able to walk in with whatever you got, and we'll give you a cup of coffee.
I love that. And by doing that, it gives you that it's something you can do, right? I mean, you're going to go enjoy this luxury again. I mean, gosh, it's so weird to say that, but I mean, it is a luxury.
Yeah, it's a commodity.
Yeah.
Coffee's a commodity.
Go enjoy this space and this coffee, but pay a little more, and you're actually paving the way for somebody else who can't do that to come in and enjoy that experience too.
And we've seen our customers that, when we tell them about that, they honestly take it. We've seen a lot of them take it further than that, and they know that there's people who come in and all the time they can't necessarily afford a meal or coffee, and so we've had all the time. There's always at least some point where in a week where there's a gift card that they preload. They'll say, hey, I want to preload this, and with $20-$30, give it to somebody. In the cashiers, they tell the cashiers, just give it to somebody who needs it or like who wants something else, something to eat, a sandwich or anything. So they've kind of even taken the baton further with that, and provided their own funds to pre-purchase a gift card. And so yeah, it's been cool to see how they come around that. And it's been interesting. Again, it's not perfect. It's like we've run into hiccups. We've had certain characters that like get a little too comfortable, and we've and then we have other customers who get a little too prideful and get a little too high and mighty, and then we have to say, hey, this is their customer. They paid for this. They're welcome here just like you are.
Right.
And so creating that balance, and we're the tension spot. We're like the scale that we have to kind of feel that all the time. And so it's an interesting dynamic, but we think it's worth it, to still have access to a good cup of coffee.
How has it changed you guys at all? I mean, being a part of this experience.
I think kind of like what you had mentioned earlier, it's one thing to have a mission or to give to a nonprofit. It's a different when you are there dealing with it on a day-to-day basis. Now, I am pretty removed from the day-to-day operations now, but in the beginning I wasn't. And you're dealing with people, humans, on a day-to-day basis. And that has taught me a lot just about people, humans, and that, again, one thing that I think us as a society do and that we kind of see is people typically dehumanize those, typically homeless, vagrants, which we have had clearly an uptick here in Sulphur with that community, the amount of them. And it's easy to dehumanize them, I think. And then whenever you're there speaking with them, getting to,
you know their names.
You know their names.
Yeah.
You know
their
a lot
stories
about them, for better or worse, right?
Sure.
And I think that's really been impactful for us and really all of our employees, I think, too.
Yeah, I mean, our employees more than anyone, the owners or even me, are building relationships with our customers. And yeah, there's times where I'm disappointed in our customers who are well off and who have, to be honest with you, called to the shop and said,
Really?
hey, there's, these people are here. And I'm sorry, they're customers, so that's disheartening. And, but it's because we know these people and,
Sure.
and we have a relationship with them. So it's not like you're just talking about someone random. You're talking about people we care about. And,
Right.
But we've also, on the other side, we've had to, call the Sulphur Police Department a couple times. We're not going to lie about that. But
Well,
again, we're creating a positive space. So if people aren't contributing to a positive gathering place, that's where we're losing our mission and we're going to fall out, and we got to get back on the right way there.
Yeah, hearing you say that, I mean, I think if everyone in the world were to really just sit down and look at it objectively and be honest, I mean, everyone can probably think of somebody who has a home and has a good job, and on the surface, everything looks like it's going great, who has seen the police called and come to their house.
Yeah.
So, I mean, having the police need to be called is nothing to do with whether you are housed or not.
No,
Because, I mean, people who are upstanding do terrible things that...
We're all broken people. Yeah,
That's
we're all
right. I
broken
mean,
people.
it's so easy to go, well, what do you expect?
Yeah.
There's the cops,
Yeah.
of course. I mean, but, I mean, heck, you can look in your own. I can look at my own life and go, yeah, if I really shake the can around, there's something floating around in there.
Yeah,
I'm
we
not
all
perfect.
we all have our own issues, and again, it's all about we're valuing our number one value is people. That's we have our mission and our values are people. So wherever you come from, wherever you're doing, that's our number one value. So anytime that's going to be denigrated or the dignity is going to be lessened on any of that, we're just that's not us and that's not the village. And so yeah, that's definitely a hill we die on as people. So
So have y'all seen? I know there are other entities, and we've interviewed some of them, like Care Help and some other groups like that do serve that part of Sulphur, the Sulphur community. Do y'all have any kind of relationships with any of these other entities and partner with them on projects?
Yeah, definitely. So that's one thing. We are not equipped to meet a lot of their needs. Obviously, we can give them some coffee,
Right.
some food, but we're not equipped to go really beyond that. So we do have relationships with Care Help, great relationship with them, great relationship with SE3, Sulphur Christian Community Coalition. And those are really the two main nonprofits that we work with. So if there is someone that we see that needs a need that needs met, we reach out to them and say, hey, is this, and we partner up with them on those things.
Okay, I kind of figured. I mean, it does seem like Sulphur has a strong network like that.
We're all kind of, a lot of people are confused. Are you part of the SC3? We're so.
I had that misconception at one point.
Yeah,
I did.
Yeah, a lot of people do, and I'm glad because that
Sure, it's not
hopefully we're on the
negative
right
connection.
track. But yeah, definitely try to stay as closely connected with those entities as possible.
Need a brand boost? Parker Brand Creative Services is your go-to team. From graphic design to video production, we craft your vision with precision. Visit parkerbrandup.com and let's build a great brand together.
So beyond the mission, I mean, because I love this mission, you guys also do a great job with your product, and then also just how you are up front and out and about, and the cleverness and creativity with which you create community. Maybe y'all could tell me some of the listeners about that kind of thing. Because I see y'all have tons of different unique events that I've just never seen paired with a coffee shop before.
Yeah, I think one thing that Hunter's really good at is being creative on, number one, how to get people in the coffee shop, especially this time of year. We're recording this in summer. It's 500 degrees outside. People don't want
People
a hot
associate
cup of
coffee with hot coffee, and it's hey guys, we got frozen and iced coffee. Come on
Right.
out,
Yeah, but some of the events, we do a lot of different karaoke's that we've had. We've had Christmas
They
karaoke.
love themed karaoke.
Themed karaoke gets people going.
Really?
Yeah, so that's been a big one. Bingo was a huge success.
We were just talking
Totally.
about bingo, how people get into it.
Yes,
Take it very
not just
seriously.
old people. Watch out.
No way. Some big success, and I think we might have been the first one in the area to do this. I don't know, but we've had multiple flight nights. So whenever we introduce
okay, I gotcha.
kind of our new coffee lineup for the
Yeah.
spring, the winter, we do what's called a flight night, and that's when you basically have a cutout wooden board, and you have 4 different coffees on
sampler,
it.
yeah.
A sampler, exactly, and they're smaller, 6-ounce glasses, so you
Sure.
get to try the different ones, and those have been really huge
Yeah,
success.
they do great.
And it's a lot of fun. It's a social thing. You bring a couple friends to share a board. and those have been a lot of fun. The other thing, we go to a lot of events, like physically go, and we actually have a little Volkswagen bus that we got.
It's so cool, man. I saw that.
It pops open, and we sell coffee at different
We have our
events.
espresso machine, and it's a full like coffee truck, little coffee Volkswagen
I
truck.
love it, man. So that I didn't realize. I saw it in investigating your social media. I was like, that is cool. It's always in the background. I did not realize that it was like a service station.
Yeah. So
okay.
Festivals and spring. It's fall and spring. We're out and about in like Lake Charles. We're able to go take the village further than just the corner.
Sweet. That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And I love the flights. I'm glad you brought that up because the only place I'd ever seen that was in the brewery.
Yeah, beer. Yeah.
It's a copy and paste from the brewery.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do other
exactly
coffee shops do that? I've never seen it before.
They've started. I think we were the first ones.
Some in some bigger cities for sure.
But yeah, we
do
didn't
it.
make it up. I mean, we stole it.
I
from
wasn't
other
sure.
people.
Stolen everything, yeah.
Well, I mean, that's just the nature of an industry, right?
That's
You
right.
kind of find it. But it is clever. And I'll tell you what, I love good food photography. I can't always eat the things that I like to look at. But you guys, your pictures, they do look fun. Those flights, I'm like, look at just the colors. And there is something really just joyful about it,
Yeah. I mean, our one of our values, I said people. Another value we have is community. So I would say those are equally valued. And so, again, how do we create events that are going to foster community? Foster whether that's people meeting each other. I mean, we've had plenty of people seen over the years that like meet at the coffee shop. We see them on their first date. We've had people come in and like take engagement photos because they're like, we've had our first date here.
Wow.
We've had people ask to get married. Like it becomes it's a community thing. But those events are like, yes, they're strategic business because we have to pay our bills. Like we have to pay our employees. So we're trying to drive business, but it's not like the dollar is what we're after. We are primarily after the community, and those things follow. But yeah, community is a huge value of ours.
Yeah. Well, speaking of other big things, I really think I should tell you guys happy birthday, right?
Yeah,
that's
At
right.
the time we're
Thank you.
recording this, 4 years? Is that
4
right?
years, yeah. We bought the building in December of, I believe it was December 2019, which turns out probably the worst time to make any real estate investment, specifically restaurant, in maybe the history of mankind.
At least the last 100 years,
At least,
right?
yeah, that's right. Because we did start renovating it right away. And then March, of course, of 2020, as the world was ending with COVID. So when we opened in June, it was still potentially everyone was going to die of COVID.
No
Right.
vaccines.
I remember.
nothing,
I remember our first week. We had the fire marshal come in, and we had to put tape down for 6 feet apart
Oh, wow,
in
yeah.
line, and that was fun. Just kind of, those learning curves, and then of course, not long after that, we had Hurricane Laura was the first one, right? So we were without electricity there for, I want to say it was 5 weeks, maybe
Great
6.
for a restaurant with
Great.
lots of frozen and cold items.
Exactly. Yeah, those are gone,
creams and
gone,
milks,
gone,
yeah.
gone. And then we opened up, I want to say maybe for 2 weeks, and then Hurricane Delta hit,
Yeah.
which again, without electricity for, I don't know how many weeks that one was, but that one was maybe only a couple.
I'm so glad I was not here for
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I was not back yet. I
Where
was
were
in New York.
You weren't in, wow.
Yeah,
you
we
were
lived in New
ways
York. We
away.
moved to New York after college. So I wasn't there, but I definitely heard about the trauma.
Yeah, that first year, not to mention, none of us have a restaurant background, so there was those learning curves,
Sure.
and then the other curveballs that were thrown to us, but we learned a lot, and the community, they really did rally, I feel like, behind us.
Yeah, they wanted a coffee shop so badly. They were so scared that we were going to close. Like all I did was run social media. So I was seeing all the comments from New York. I'm just like, people please come back. We love you. Like we need a they were
Yeah.
just so worried we're not going to come back.
That's awesome, actually, to hear that people were that fervent about you guys.
Yeah, we have a really good support here in Sulphur. Like it's been awesome. They diehard coffee village coffee people.
They really do want to support local here, and I think that's awesome because every penny of our money that we make, it stays here.
Sure.
It really does. We don't have shareholders. As nice as that sounds right now,
No.
we don't have any outside investors. So every penny that people spend, it does stay here. It goes to our employees. It goes to trying to improve this area, and they know that, they see that, hopefully.
That's another special thing about really small businesses, I mean, that are run by the people, not just hired out. I mean, you're on the front line and you're seeing the business landscape from a completely different perspective often. You know, you really, you're invested in a way that is really hard to explain to other people. I remember this from years ago in North Louisiana. I owned a sign company, and I mean, I started it with nothing and built it into something over 4 years, you know, and I was making a decent living at it, but I wanted to move back home. And I decided to sell it. And, you know, I sold it, and then 6 months later it was closed. The person I sold it to just
ran into the ground.
And I was like, how is that possible? We had a customer base. Everything was just turnkey, just to come to work. And, you know, in hindsight and thinking about it over the years, the only thing I could think that was different was I was invested in it emotionally, mentally, in a way that they weren't. Mm-hmm. And I can't explain what that is. I mean, it was just different. Something was different about being there on the front line with it, and it was like a baby that you had watched and nurtured.
It is like a baby.
Yeah. Does it feel like that? Like it's like a you know, do you feel like a parent sometimes with the business? Like it's something you're watching
sometimes
nurture?
a parent, sometimes a pet a little bit, you know, it's like this little baby dog who keeps, or puppy.
Well,
keeps,
you know how kids get more expensive each year they get older?
Yeah, that is funny.
That's a good way
I tell
like
people
that.
who, I think a lot of people romanticize a coffee shop or even a restaurant. Oh,
Sure.
how cool would this be?
Yeah.
And I tell them, I say, hey, if you want to make your money disappear, I have a great idea for you.
Oh, yeah.
Open any restaurant, any coffee shop.
Which is like something to think about. Like it is awesome. Like I don't think anybody would trade it, you know, for anything, and they would say it's all worth it. But you know, to say that, and then you're in it day to day, and I just think that like the employees, like people know that like that everyone cares and like is really into it, and so that's something special. It definitely is special. It's challenging, and it's definitely not the place to go make money. Like if you're like, I want to get rich, you know,
Sure.
this is not but that's good because you know they know that nobody's in that for that reason, you know, and so it is a labor of love, you know.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, you know, when I decided to, I guess, grow my own corn, you know, whenever we went out and said, hey, we're going to do it for ourselves, the motivators, money definitely was there, but it was only as, hey, I need money to survive.
Yeah.
I know that I have bills to pay, and I know that I need to provide for my family, you know, a certain level of comfort and resources. And I always tell my son this. I said, it's going to sound like I'm oversimplifying life. I said, but a large part of it is resource acquisition, resource retention. And so if it can acquire resources and retain resources, then what are the payoffs? And for me, it was flexibility to be there for my children. When they get sick, I can actually be home with them and still do my job. And I could go on and on and on about the payoffs.
Yeah. What is your definition of being rich?
That's right.
No.
You know, I mean, and so, I may not have all the cool toys and the prestige, but I don't know that I was after that to begin with. Mm-hmm. So I think it sounds like I'm hearing some of the same sentiments with the Village, that there's something like that beating at the center.
We do not expect to ever, I think, none of us see a penny back from it, and we understand that. We're okay with that. We just want to hopefully improve this area in Sulphur and everyone in Sulphur. So that's really
just be a part of people's lives, and I mean I think you know, Lord willing, it'll be a place that's there for a long time.
Your brand deserves the best. At Parker Brand Creative Services, we build better brands with creative precision. From graphic design to digital marketing, we think sideways, push forward, and get your brand up. Trust the work, not the pitch. View our extensive galleries at parkerbrandup.com.
So today, it's your birthday, but when this airs, it's not going to be your birthday, and we may be able to talk about what you guys have coming. You know, y'all have seen it, y'all went through all this other stuff, and you've kind of, what I was talking about, stabilize or acquire resources, retain resources. You get to that point, and then you can start thinking about, okay, so now what do I want to do to enhance this brand and bring something, make something even more special for Sulphur? So what is it that you guys are doing or on the horizon for the village?
So one thing when we started, obviously we have our values, we have our mission statement. Part of that for us as well is we wanted to provide the best product that we can.
Yeah.
And if you go into the village, you'll notice our espresso machine, our grind, everything is very nice, top of the line, because we want to try to provide the best product. So in conjunction with that and trying to kind of take it to the next level, we're gonna start roasting our own coffee in-house. And that literally importing green coffee, roasting it, and then of course selling it at the coffee shop in different methods. If that's a bag of coffee, if that's a latte, if that's a brewed coffee, all of that will be sold through the village. So we're really excited about kind of what that can bring and just taking it to the next level.
Yeah.
It's like the equivalent of like farm to table, like that trend where it's like food, like straight from, it's like we're going to get to have a little bit more of that. What do you call that? Not the food chain. What is that? We're
going to call it the food chain.
Supply
okay.
chain.
That's
supply chain. Okay.
We don't have a middleman. We'll get to have more control over. We do care about the quality, like Aaron said. Like, I feel like a lot of places and businesses, and like I'm not like no one in specific is coming to mind. I'm just thinking in general. They really care about people, or they really care about the experience, but the product kind of gets to the back burner.
Sure.
They're just like, oh, like they're just local, support them. And then the other side is like, they really, really care about the product, and it's like, this is going to be the best thing you've ever had. But it's just people-wise, they're like not welcoming, is not very hospitable.
Sure.
And so we're trying to hit both. We don't want to sacrifice one for the other. And so the quality part and like giving people the best experience, like product-wise too, that's part of valuing people for us. It's like we're not gonna give you something that would not be valuing you.
Yeah. How do you place value on working with a business that has people that actually really care? That is that's special. I know I can tell when I'm working with somebody who cares, or going to a business that cares. I don't know why, but
probably because we kept pushing back. No, let's change this. Let's change
Oh.
this. Is that what we're talking about? We were probably annoying you.
Look, what he's talking about is that the village, and you guys haven't seen it yet, or maybe you will by the time this comes out. I don't know. Y'all are working on a rebrand. Not a rebrand and a name change, but just sort of an evolution of the Village coffee brand to kind of possibly line up with this edition of roasting, yeah?
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of part of it's a kid, right? Growing up, you go through puberty. I guess we're going through puberty.
Can we talk about that? I'm very curious. I mean, what that experience is like for you guys. I'll just to tell you, like the Parker brand side of that. I'll spare you the whole story about our logo, but I had this idea. I was like, I want a day one logo. Whatever we do, I want it to matter. I want it to mean something to us personally. But I also want it to be able to be perceived by the public. When I tell them, they can go, oh, I see it. And so it sticks. I wanted a color, and we weren't going to change the color, but I didn't want it to be so specific that I was going to pay out the nose every time I had something printed. I was like, orange is our color, and it's just orange. It doesn't matter which orange. We're just going to say orange, and I could live with the deviations. But I was like, I don't want to ever get the bug to change it. So I was like, how do I do that? What is it going to be? And so I have had the bug every once in a while, but what I have satiated that desire to create with is just playing with it and saying, well, what other ways can I use it? Don't change it, but just play with it. Have fun with it. Maybe fool around with the way it appears or what you put it on or how it morphs. So I've never personally, for my own brand, been through what you guys are kind of going through. So I'm curious to hear like what that process feels like to go, okay, we've started our business. We have a visual marker, our logo that points to the experience, right? It could be any symbol, but that's the symbol people are familiar with. And now you're making that possibly moving into that change. What's that feel like?
I'm excited. I mean,
yeah,
I am. I know people are going to and always will associate our, I guess you want to call it old logo, but going forward as we continue to grow and evolve, that's going to be something that we do, that we change things, and I'm excited to see kind of the response to it.
Yeah. I like it. I like what y'all chose. When y'all landed on, I kept seeing y'all land on that particular icon.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm glad, because that was that felt right. And then, the typography, obviously there was some changing there, but once y'all finally landed where you landed, I told Michelle, I said, that typography has just enough of a familiarity to the original.
Yes.
So am I on the right?
Yes.
I said it's probably what they're.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I think what I think works about it is that it does have a more modern and I guess cleaner typography, but it has it's like a cousin of the old logo word,
Yes.
with so people I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they even recognize that the word
I think you're right.
changed that much.
Yeah.
I think the
That's a
icon,
good thing.
yeah, because that's
Yeah.
going to be there around the new stuff. That's the center point of it.
Yeah.
And then the new stuff, so I think we're probably going to be the ones who overanalyze it the most. I think it's been interesting. I've shown a couple of people and what is the 3? Some people get it immediately.
Okay.
Some people get it immediately, and some people, what is the 3 lines?
Yeah.
I say, what do you think it is?
Yeah. Well, have you gotten any responses? What do people say?
Some people, they go from oh, it's like God, like the Trinity, to it looks like roads,
Okay. Has anybody connected it to the?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Probably half of them are oh, it's awnings,
Yeah.
But yeah, I tell them, I'm like, yeah, it can mean anything, I mean, I think there's 3 owners, make it mean that. I don't know, whatever.
Wow.
Yeah, you see that?
So there's story built in. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's just the awnings are, obviously we land on that just because of the story of we, it's just, it's a marker of us now, just physically as our physical location, but it's been a heck of a thing trying to get those back and after the hurricane took it and now they're back on and just it's, our business has been through a lot with certain damages.
Those have been damaged and down since Laura.
Since the hurricane, yeah.
And then we got them up 3 months ago, maybe. So.
Yeah, it's been a while. So
yeah,
it's kind of a resilient thing,
Well, and as you grow, and if y'all ever do, have other satellite locations, it'll be cool to be able to say, yeah, this was from our first location. This icon is historic in that way.
Yeah, even if it doesn't look, exactly.
Yeah, I like that.
You guys did a great job. Yeah, I mean, what's funny is sidebar on that is when we were talking about after we had our initial meeting with you, we were saying, okay, what kind of icon? This is before you send us anything. What kind of icons? What could we do? We talked about the hexagon. And so we were like, what about that? We need to do something with the awning. Maybe we could.
Oh, y'all were having that conversation.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I made up something. I was trying to. It was not as good as yours or similar, but it was close. I was like, yeah, it looked like some bars.
Yeah.
Mine went long ways.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
But next to but anyway, it was so funny when you sent that logo. We were like, no way. All right, this has got to be.
Well, that's cool. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. Actually,
Yeah.
I'll have to
so
show that.
we were tracking on the same thing there. Yeah.
Oh, that's really great. I can't wait to see how you guys use it. We have a brewery in another state that we worked with, and I always use them as an example. I point people to it. I'm like, we did their logo and kind of came up with a few different lockups for them and put their color palette in place. And he just ran with it. I mean, over the years, I've watched him stay so true to it, but at the same time, just have fun with the way they use it. And everything just from one thing to the next, packaging, glassware, you name it, signage. I'm like, wow, they really do a good job with it. And so I felt like whenever y'all landed on that, I was like, I feel like I see sort of the same path. Y'all do such a good job promoting yourselves. Your photography's great. Y'all tell your story great. It looks fun. I love food photography, and I guess y'all are taking all those images yourself.
Yeah.
It looks great. Looks fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love it. Makes you want to just go lick the whipped cream off the top of some of those trees.
Yeah, we definitely did not start there. We've grown in that. We're realizing again, we're trying to be excellent. So it's hard. We finally got this. We're sitting in the roastery right now, and I don't know if I've told Aaron, but I'm going to take one of these corners and make it a staged where I don't have to set up the set every time, because
Yeah.
it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But it's always you get that immediately reward. Once you do it and you make it look so good, and then you immediately get your dopamine because you're like, yep, that's exactly what I thought.
Oh yeah.
It's fun. It's fun to do that. And I'm a creative person, so I just that. Tickles my whistle. Is that how I don't know.
Tickles my whistle. I like it.
We're going to go with that.
It keeps me
I've
interested.
heard worse.
At Parker Brand Creative Services, we work diligently to build better brands. From award-winning graphic design to media placement, we deliver results that speak for themselves. Are you ready to elevate your brand? Visit parkerbrandup.com today.
So I have a question, and it's for both of you. And I'd like to hear what both of you have to say. So, running a business and doing with a mission, with all the different things the challenges that you face, and then also the heavy lifting of trying to do new things, there have to be hard days. What do you tell yourself on those hard days to like get yourself back in line with the mission and motivated again to go, okay, shake it off, get going, let's do it?
Dang, that's a good one. He wants me to answer. Yeah, I mean, I think like for me, like I can get so bogged down in like the projects and like the deadlines and like the stuff that's coming up or stuff that I missed, but it just comes back to like at the end of the day, like it's people, and that's the business we're in. Like Simon Sinek, I don't know if you read his Start With Why book.
I know I haven't, but I'm familiar with the author.
Yeah, he has a quote. He's basically, it tells every business that he coaches, like, you're not in the coffee business, you're in the people business. Like whatever you're doing, like you're in it for the people. And so for me as the general manager, like I report to the employees, right? So like that's who I'm like supposed to be supporting, and like they're my, that's something where it comes down like that's over me. And so anyway, whenever things get tough or whatever, I just try to remember them and the guests, and so trying to remember that's what it all comes back to. We're trying to create a community. We're trying to uphold values, and so it does get discouraging, when certain business like hiccups come, or like, it's slow and you're trying to get people in the door, or like, you're having to deal with like detail work. But at the end of the day, it's like just having to remember that the heartbeat, the beginning, like what are we doing? You always have to remember like what are we doing, like because you could get so like on the treadmill, and you're doing a bunch of stuff. You're like, wait, what are we doing?
Yeah. What's that question? I think that people say, what's the why?
Yeah. What's your why?
What's your why? Yeah.
So for us, and for me, it's like I'm here to support these people. I'm here to like lead the team and like and give the guests the best experience as possible. So sometimes for me, the way I get out of the funk is like I just got to get out from behind the bar, and I just go like talk. I'm a people person, so what gives me energy, I'll go talk to people in the lobby. How's everything, like, and then like to hear like how things are going, like that's can give me better direction on like, how do you like the new drinks, like. Or you just meet people. Like we have people who are here every week, multiple times a week, and just like getting to know them, see them have kids, and like so you just get invested in their lives. And like when those conversations happen, those moments happen, I'm like, okay, this is why I'm doing it. It's like this is better than like looking at spreadsheets. But you have to look at the spreadsheets, but that gives me the energy to look at the spreadsheets. I don't know if that makes sense, but
makes total sense, man. I gotta say, I've met a lot of checked out managers and checked out CEOs, and what you just described is not that at all. That is a checked in manager.
Well, I try to be. I'm not always, but it's fun. I love my job.
I think for me it's a little bit different. So Hunter's there in the trenches every day. I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
So my view is definitely more of a 40,000 foot view, where we get hey, we got to buy this, we got to do this. So we kind of get that side of things,
right.
Hey, we're turning this direction. So it's more of those bigger overarching themes that I have to deal with, less with, hey, this customer's upset, we need to refund his money. Mm-hmm. So that's where Hunter and our employees, and then for me and some of the other owners, we each have different kind of what we do at this shop. Some of them are more involved than I currently am on the day-to-day. But for me, it's seeing that overall, okay, hey, we're turning this way, or hey, we're having an issue here, or something's broken. We get to go find something new to do that. And that seems to happen more and more often. But what I kind of keep in the back of my mind is, hey, we have something unique, and we have something that the people here need and want. And so I kind of remind myself of that, like, hey, this is something that I really do believe we're providing a service to the community. And hopefully, like I said earlier, I think the community does see that. But I keep that in the back of my head whenever these things come up, whenever I'm like, really, another check we get to write or whatever, Yeah. And so I keep that in the back of my head. And like, I really do believe that we're offering a space and I think the other thing, I know we talk a lot about our customers, but I want to talk about our employees a lot. We probably have 20-something,
almost 30,
almost 30 employees. So we have a lot of employees. And I think part of my mission for sure is obviously the customers, but the employees as well. We really have some amazing employees. So part of that in the back of my mind is, hey, we're giving these typically not always, but younger adults opportunity to work and really a fun environment.
Mm-hmm.
I know a lot of people are in this current economy, quote unquote, hey, we can't find help. We have a line of people
we have never had that problem
who want to work. And that's because the job, it really is. It's fun. It's enjoyable. You get to learn a lot. It's a great atmosphere. And so I think that as well, I keep in the back of my mind, like, man, can't let these guys.
We've had people who
down.
have been with us since day one.
Really?
Still.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And not just one, like multiple people.
That's right.
And,
that's right. And they've grown so much. Just some of them, right away, like, this person's not going to make it.
Yeah.
And now they're one of our leaders in the coffee shop. They didn't know how to sweep or mop or just things that you're like, how do you not know?
Yep.
Sure.
And it's really cool to see.
You forget like those little skills like that are acquired. You know, it's like
and they're going from high school to college to out of college, and it's really cool to see that. Our employees.
That's definitely one of my favorite parts, I think.
We have some awesome employees.
Yeah, I mean, I look back at some of my first jobs, and even still today, I go, man, I still do something that I just take for granted that I learned at that job.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's what I like. I'm as managing them and being there for them is like, I tell them all the time, like, listen, I know this is a coffee shop job. I know you're not going to be here that long, but while you are here, like, what you're gonna learn. And I hope, like, when I'm giving feedback or, like, I'm taking it so seriously, and they're like, guys, it's just a coffee shop job. And I'm like, it's not. Like, you're going to pick – I hope that you're here to grow because, like, you're going to take some stuff here, and we're going to all learn some stuff together. But, like, you're going to use it forever. Like, you're going to learn how to talk to people. You're going to learn how to deal with customers. You're going to learn how to work hard and have a work ethic. Like, I don't know. There's just so many things they don't know necessarily that they're learning, especially the younger ones in the high school and stuff. But and then you get to see that just they grow and evolve, and then they get better, and then you're like, dang, okay, they don't even, they run the show, Yeah.
Working in a service industry of any kind, especially one where you've got a variety of different folks from the public coming in, I think it teaches you how to navigate just humanity, just generally, because it isn't always easy. And having a job like that where it's sort of compressed within a certain amount of time, you're dealing with a lot of different people all day with a variety of emotional the emotional spectrum, you're up and down, possibly.
Right.
You do learn, which is a super important skill.
You need to come back sometime and watch us roast.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think you'll really enjoy that.
That would be fun.
I really
We'll show you the process, because it is really cool to see. One of the coffees that we get, we physically go to Guatemala, and we have some relationships with some farmers
y'all
there.
actually go down to
some of it, and it's like a really limited, So
batches.
we have some relationships there, so we physically go down there and we bring some of it back legally, of course, but that's something that we do at least once a year, is to go down there and do that. And then, of course, we're roasting this coffee, and it's, to my knowledge, the only place to get it in the United States.
Really?
Just because this specific coffee grower does not export it. There's a lot of logistics when you're exporting. It's just complicated. But it's a really, really unique and cool experience. So that's part of our goal, I think, is also to tell the story of, hey, we know this person. We know we're paying above market price. We know his family. I know his kids.
Yeah.
And so really telling that story, and I think it'll be cool. So you can learn the whole process.
Yeah,
and
I'd like
it's pretty
that.
cool.
That's something I was thinking about earlier, and I'm glad you brought that up. That there really is a story behind the beans. And
Ooh. I'm going to steal
Behind
that.
the beans.
Behind the beans. That'd be a podcast for the
Yeah, I might steal that.
Behind the beans with
It's a story. It's a series.
Yeah, Behind the Beans. Well, there you go. Take it. I
All
think
right,
it's
thank
great.
you.
Go for it. Behind
I
the Beans.
appreciate it.
Check it out. I bet somebody else has got.
Oh, yeah. No,
Behind the
Probably.
Beans.
Yeah, probably.
All good ideas seem to be like that.
And I'm happy, I know it.
Hi there, Good News listeners. It's time for Fishing for Goodies, where I take a back seat and let the Good News Fishbowl lead the way. Find the Good News podcast is a personal labor of love using the professional skills and resources of Parker Brand Creative Services. When you share our podcast, you're helping our brand, parkerbrandup.com, reach potential clients. When we're building brands, that helps keep the Good News signal strong. So listen, enjoy, learn, like, and share the good news. Now, let's fish out some good questions for my guest.
This started with one question that I used to ask everybody at the beginning of the show, and it was, why do something instead of nothing? Because the show is about good people doing good works, and why make that choice? Because some people are living in comfort, and they make a choice to just get out there and do something to help people. So anyway, that may not necessarily be the question you could ask today, but that was the seed that was in this fishbowl, and since then it's been... it's grown to over 400 questions. So what we do now is we let you guys pull a random question, and then you both can answer that question and then draw another one, or you can each draw different ones.
What's yours?
Films that stayed on your mind long after the credits rolled.
Ooh.
Say films that stay on your mind long after the credits rolled.
Yeah.
Ooh. All right. First one that comes to my mind.
Mine's easily Inception. I don't think...
Oh, yes.
I can't think of
Inception,
another movie
really,
that I still just can't fathom.
Yes. Yeah.
But I don't like that. It bothers me because I'm like, I don't understand what's going on.
Oh, like because it was like, okay, I still
just
don't
like
know.
Constantly, is it a dream?
Yeah.
That's a good one, though, because I still, to this day, every once in a while, will go down an Inception rabbit hole.
Yeah.
And go, I don't remember. Let me look this up, and I'll find theories about things, I
was trying to explain to my 8-year-old son the other day, and I don't have no clue how the conversation came up. But I was like, hey, it's like a dream, inside a dream, inside a dream. He's like, wait, what? Anyway, I don't know.
Why can't I think of the name of Take the Red Pill? What is that movie?
Oh, The Matrix.
Yeah, it's same thing almost. But.
I think I used an Inception reference the other day. I've just started sleeping good again after a long time because I was having terrible dreams. But now I'm still dreaming. But I've told my wife, I said, it's funny. Every morning I dream so much more than I used to. I said, and this is what literally the words came out of my mouth. I said, but when the dream starts deteriorating, I realize I'm dreaming and I've been waking up and it's acting as an alarm clock. And I go, is dream deterioration something? Because I started really sitting around thinking about my dreams. I was like, yeah, that's what's been happening. Like everything seems like normal. And then it starts to fall apart, basically. Something doesn't make sense. Okay, this isn't right. And then I start to wake up. And I said, wait, isn't that what happens in Inception?
That's the whole premise right there.
The dreams start to fall apart and they're waiting. The guy's going to wake up or something. So I was like, yeah, I think I pulled that from Inception. But it's a real thing. I guess they based it on something.
I'm sure they did. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm definitely going through that. It's like my alarm clock when my dreams go off the rails.
I've been dreaming a lot too.
I don't remember my dreams.
I don't remember them, but I know I've been having a lot of them weird. I don't know. My question says, would you rather watch the movie or read the book? As an English major, I want to say I wish my answer was read the book. And I've been getting into reading more, but I think my heart says watch the movie.
Really?
Because I can just sit there. I don't have to do it. You know
I get that. I do.
I just love watching TV.
I love movies and TV too. I grew up
crime
on it,
documentaries. Give me a 5-parter. Lock me in the house for the weekend. I'll be good. So yeah, probably watch the movie. If it was like an Instagram Tumblr situation, I'd probably say like read the book in my bio, but
Smart.
Not really.
Well, let me ask you a question about that because I like to read and watch movies.
Yeah.
Is there something where you've went, oh my gosh, I love this book, but then you've watched the movie, go, oh my God, I love the movie too, and they're not the same?
I read Harry Potter, all of it, before I ever watched any of the movies.
The whole series?
Read it all before I ever watched a movie.
That's a lot of books. And
it was kind of because it was coming out at the same time that I was starting to read the books, but
yeah.
I like Hermione.
Yeah.
I thought her name was Hermione.
Oh, I've done that.
But I'd never seen the movie. So
yeah.
I was just like 7th grader just reading Hermione constantly for 3 books. And
That's funny.
Then I was talking about one of my friends. He was like, it's Hermione. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, it's Hermione. I was like, I don't know about it. It's a British name, so whatever.
Yeah.
So those were like weirdly similar and not the same at all.
I've got an answer to that.
Okay.
And it's Holes.
The book.
I love the book and I love the movie.
I agree with you. I read the book and watched the movie.
Yeah,
I totally
great.
agree. That's a good one.
That's a throwback
Shia
there.
LaBeouf.
Back when I read fiction, like I feel like I've not read a fiction book in forever.
I've read less and less fiction, more nonfiction.
I probably need to read more fiction.
Yeah, I force myself to change my genre because I know the way my mind works is whatever I'm reading, I start to think in that language. Mm-hmm. And for the last year, which actually did help me, I was kind of going through a little bit of like I say a little bit, it's kind of a PTSD situation, and I wasn't really okay. I could tell I wasn't okay, and I couldn't talk to anybody about it. And I latched onto war memoirs, and that helped me tremendously. I don't know why, but like I really started to find camaraderie in the plight of soldiers in like foreign wars going through terrible things. Now that's I'm probably gonna catch some flack. Like people are gonna be like, oh well, you know, if you really been through it. But I'm like, no, the language of it was soothing, and it gave me like a space to allow myself to go, okay, the way I'm feeling is not.
You can put words to it.
I can put words to it, yeah. But reading World War II memoirs, I found that I would start using things like deploy and words like, and my whole lexicon changed, you know. And I was like, okay, this is military speak. I've like adopted this, and it didn't realize that it had migrated into my. But yeah,
that's funny.
I'll tell you a book that I read that was like that, and it's one from my childhood. The movie was what I saw first. Was not Rambo, First Blood. Oh. The movie First Blood from the 80s with Sylvester Stallone.
Okay.
The original Rambo movie. I had no idea that was a book. And I was listening to a podcast, and this author, David Morrell, incredible author's written, tons of books. They were talking about his classic First Blood, and I go, oh, First Blood's a book. And he starts talking about how it was so different than the film and how many years it took to make the film. And so I was like, I got to read this book. And I told my wife, I said, this is an incredible book. And if you read that book and watched that movie, you would be like, this is, they're not even close. Yeah. I mean, other than the fact that the main guy's name is Rambo and that there is a sheriff in it, just like, well, he's actually a police officer, not a sheriff in the book. But anyway, I was amazed at how such a iconic film that really just set like a whole other world for this character came from that book. And the book itself was just so well written. Stephen King uses it in his writing class. He said it's like the perfect book. So I was like, this is one of these things where I watched the movie first, read the book later. They're both good in their own right, but they're so different. And I don't know. David Morrell said that he looks at it as like a child that left home and didn't ever call him again, and kind of went off and lived his own life when it became a film.
Probably a way to authors to like deal with that, deal with the hurt.
Oh no, I got another one of these. Would you rather be a great teacher or be a great student?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Well, we know what Hunter wasn't. Just kidding.
That's why I got to be a great student. I think I really do. I do consider myself to be always a student. Like always learn, just learn more. That's my default setting. But I also like to teach too. But I did try to be a teacher one time in New York for like a semester.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
I didn't like it that much.
Really?
Yeah. I don't. I mean, I can do it. I don't know.
Maybe it's just the kids. If you like it, you're just a great one.
I think I'd just rather be a student because then someone's just giving you stuff and you just take it all in. You don't have to give. That sounds so bad, but
yeah, that is pretty rough. I think I'd rather be a great teacher because that's the answer you're supposed to say here.
Okay, sounds great. And you're so good. You're just man.
Yeah. That way you can change so many students' lives, Hunter.
That's good. Well, if I learn a lot, then eventually I can become a teacher. So I'll be a student for a lot of it, and then I'll switch my answer midway.
Beautiful.
Life.
Yeah, maybe we should all be a little bit of both, huh? Like, always a student, always a teacher, always ready to.
Always be a student.
Always a student, always a teacher.
That's it.
Ready to help. Well, that's what the village does, right? Ready to help.
Always, yeah. Trying to build community here, help everybody we can, get some good yummy coffee, some cinnamon rolls. Follow us on social media. Keep up with what we're doing.
Is that where y'all's signals mostly lie? Is that the main source?
I think so. Yeah, Instagram, Facebook, Village Coffee Sulphur.
Okay. No TikTok yet.
I don't even know.
I don't know if we want to go down that road. We'll see.
Yeah.
We do have a TikTok. We have it.
Oh, okay.
It's just nothing on there.
Okay. I do hear it from a lot of people. I get the same answer. It's like, you're going to do it? And they're just like, I don't know.
Yeah, if I'm going to do it, we're all about, like, if we're going to do something, we're going to do it really well.
Yeah.
We try to be that way.
That's a different animal, though. It really is a different animal. I mean,
and none of us are Gen Z.
No, we're not. That's the hard part, I think, is...
We have staff that's Gen Z, but it's hard to be like, hey, I know you're on drive-through today, but I need two TikToks out by lunch,
Well, thank you guys for your time and for inviting us in to get a look at where you've been and what's on the horizon.
Thanks for having us, Oran.
I'm more thankful every moment that I found.
Thanks for listening to another Good News Conversation. If you'd like to learn more about my guests and their good works, visit findthegood.news or visit the links in the show notes. If you found something good in this episode, please subscribe, share it with a friend, or leave an honest review. These small actions help amplify the good news and help us reach far beyond the Louisiana Gulf Coast. I thank you for pressing play and for syncing up with this good news signal.